Hello everybody, today I'm going to tell you 3 skills that I think everyone should master with their horse. So the way I came up with these 3 skills is based on what I think will make you the safest. If you can't do these things, I don't think you're completely safe. So with that being said, let's get into it. So the first one is going to be steering. I think if you can't steer your horse, then you're not really in control, and so you're not safe. So the first type of steering I'll show you is steering off your legs. I think that you should be able to steer completely off your legs without having to use your reins whatsoever at all 3 gaits. The benefits to this are it is way more relaxing for your horse. They don't have to worry about you pulling around on their face and bridling them up and jerking on them. They can just step off the pressure and cruise around and be completely relaxed. So because of that, I use this as a warm-up a lot, so that's what I'll do as I'm explaining this. This will help you when you go to teach neck reining, because if your horse already knows to step off the leg pressure, then when I'm laying the neck rein on and he doesn't step off, then I can apply that leg and then he will step off, so I can use it as a correction. This will also help when you're teaching body control, because you basically will already have control of their front end, and then they kind of just get the idea quicker when you go to move the other parts of their body. So like I said, you should be able to do it at all 3 gaits completely with your legs rein down or hand down and just cruise around. As you can see, my horse is already chilled out. He has a low head, he doesn't care. So the next form of steering is going to be neck reining. Neck reining is more for if you're going to show, or if you're doing something that requires having your hand free, like if you're roping. Neck reining is much more snappy, I think, once you get it trained well. So it can be beneficial when, say, you rope a cow and that cow's moving around. You can get your horse to move quicker so that you stay in a good position the whole time. Also, when you're showing at any of the higher level shows, or just any show in the higher level divisions, you're going to have to show one-handed anyways, and so you're going to have to be able to neck rein. You can also warm up neck reining. It's kind of the same concept, more so once they've already kind of learned it, and so you want to be able to do this at all 3 gaits as well. So I'll do it at a lope. It's definitely harder at a lope when you're first teaching it, so that's why it's handy to be able to push on them with your legs. So if I lay that on there and he doesn't step off, then I can just push him and he steers a little sharper. And it's also good that if you're running full speed across the pasture, you can just move your hand and not have to worry about using your legs. And so I think it's probably the simplest method of steering, because like I said, all you're doing is just moving your hand. So the next thing that I think you should master with your horse is impulsion. And in other words, that is your speed control. Now there's many aspects to that. It's not just one thing. The first thing is being able to move at a constant speed within the gait. So if I'm trotting around, I don't want him to speed up and slow down and speed up and slow down. I want him to recognize what my seat is telling him and him just to cruise at that constant pace. So right now you can see he is going at a constant pace. He's kind of on the lazy side, so most of the time I'm having to ask this horse to go more. But honestly, I would rather that than a horse that wants to speed up, because then you feel like you don't really have any control. And that's what this whole impulsion thing is about, is having control. Because if you have a horse that runs off, that is definitely not safe for you or the horse, because you can run through gates, run through fences, run into other people, other horses, which is not a good thing. So then another part of this is within the gait, you want to be able to speed up. So my cue to speed up in the trot is to start posting and then put my hand forward. So I'll show you that. And then he speeds up. And then with that, I also want him to be able to come back to me when I sit back down And if it's really on point, then he won't go to a walk. He'll just go back to that slow trot. Now this horse, since I said he's lazy, he likes to go back to that walk. So we'll see what he does here. So I kind of had to kick him a little bit to make sure he didn't go to a walk, but he did pretty good. He came back with me and didn't just keep going. Some horses, or most horses in the beginning, they'll get going fast and then they'll just keep on running and not slow back down with you. So you want them to do that when you sit back down. Now the last kind of aspect of this is when you're switching gaits, you don't want them to run into it. So if I'm going to want this horse to lope, then I'm just going to want him to step into it. I don't want him to trot a bunch of steps and then go into it. I just want to be trotting and then we're loping. Same speed. So I'm going to try that. So that wasn't terrible. He kind of took a few faster trot steps into it. To really get this good, you got to practice it a lot. Your horse needs to get stronger so that they can just use their hind end and drive right into that and push into it. Because it does take like some elevation for them to be able to just fall into that nicely. But as you can see, we're in the lope. He's not speeding up. He's not slowing down. He's staying with me. That's exactly what I want. So the last skill that you need to master with your horse is very important. It might be the most important, and that's being able to stop your horse. If you can't stop your horse, then you could get yourself in a lot of trouble. In just an arena even, or for sure if you're out in the pasture. So there's kind of 3 ways to stop. So the first one is just stopping off of 2 reins. I think that this is what should probably be your go-to for your absolute safety brake. If something bad's happening, you need to be able to rely on this. I learned this from Craig Johnson, as he would say, is your e-brake, your emergency brake. So what that is obviously just stopping them with 2 reins and he slams on the brakes. Now, ideally, you want them to stop softly with their face. They need to give their face and then also slam on the brakes and not just plow through your hands. You want them to come off of your hands and stop. So you need to be able to do this at all gaits, including like a gallop, if you really want it to be good, because you can't expect to be out chasing a cow full speed and pulling your reins and you stop if you've only done it at a trot in practice. It just isn't going to work. They're just going to get emotional and run right through it. So I'm not going to show that right now because I'm on grass and I don't really want to stop real hard. So I'm just going to do it out of a trot. But you just want to be able to stop your horse off your reins and him slam on it. So my horse has had about a month off, so he's not super sharp on it right now. But he gets the point and he gave his face and he stopped. So just a little story to kind of back up what I was saying is, one time I was in Colorado and I was on a 3-year-old horse and we had to go get a pair and sort them off because the calf was sick and the rest of the herd was going to Wyoming. It was going to be cold, so they didn't want that pair to go. So we start bringing them back, and the cow is super trotty and ends up being like a full speed thing. And so I'm chasing after it with this 3-year-old horse, and the cow turns and I go to stop and my horse just keeps going. That is not a very good feeling. You don't feel safe. And so the reason that happened is because I hadn't practiced stopping off 2 reins really at all. Mostly it was like 1 rein stops and stopping off my seat. And in that situation, I needed both reins and we didn't have it. And so it was not really a safe scenario. But that'll lead me kind of to my next one. I mentioned it there, is a 1 rein stop. Now, the reason I don't think this is the number 1 go-to is because if you try this when you're going full speed, you're probably going to flip your horse over. He'll land on top of you. It'll just be a wreck. And so the 1 rein stop is you're just bending them and yielding their hindquarters. Now, you kind of want to do this before things get too fast. So if you say you're on a trail ride and you can sense your horse is getting sensitive or about to spook or his ears go up, then you can just bend him before anything happens. And then Also, you can do it as he's spooking. You just don't want him to be able to get full speed and full momentum and then try and bend him around, because it's not going to work. But say we're just walking and then he jumps off, I can still bend him down and be fine. So that's kind of when I would use that. Now, my old boss used to say this, I don't remember who originally said it, but I heard it from him, is that you want to practice this until you would bet your life on it. I think that's pretty much how he said it. But if you wouldn't put your life on it, then you probably need to practice it more. And I would say that's the same thing for stopping with 2 reins, is the more you can do it, the better they'll be. You are going to have to practice both of those a whole lot. To get them soft, stopping with 2 reins, you're going to have to practice that a lot, to where they know to give their face and also stop and not just plow through it and get all bracy. But then, like the 1 rein stop, you can be working that in from the very beginning when they're just a colt. So then the final one is stopping just off of your seat. Now, this isn't going to save you if something bad happens, but when you're purposely stopping in a like a situation where you're fine, but you just want to stop, this is going to be the first cue that your horse feels to know that the stop is coming. So if I'm trotting around here, all I'm going to do is stop riding and sit down, and he's going to stop. And so then once we get to where, say we're doing a reining pattern and we're running down the arena, he's going to feel me sit, and then he's going to know that we're stopping, and so he's going to start the stop, and then I can give a little feel on the reins, and that'll get us into that full stop. And then eventually you can get to where that stop will be pretty good without having to use any reins at all. That's kind of the ideal outcome. And then you can do all kinds of things, bridleless riding. It'll look better when you're showing if you don't got to use any reins. So that's kind of not really a necessity, but it just helps that when you're riding around, if your life goes up, the horse speeds up, and then as soon as your life goes down, they stop. That just shows that you have a lot of control with your horse, and you're probably doing pretty good, and you'll be pretty safe. So those are the 3 things that I think that you should master. Some of those different subcategories within those 3 skills, I have some Patreon videos posted on my Patreon page. I don't have them all done yet, but I have a few up there already. And so you can go watch those, and then I'll be adding a new one every week, along with different types of horsemanship skills that I think you should be able to do with your horse, and hopefully it can help you out. So I hope you learned something in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.